Hey, this is Joe from Comic Advisors. We're here at the 5 Points Fest in NYC, and I'm here today with James Tynion IV, current writer of Detective Comics. Hey, James.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, today we want to ask you, right now, what is your favorite part about writing Detective Comics?
I mean, the Bat family have always been my favorite characters, like, in all of comics. They are, they're, like, those characters, particularly Tim Drake, was sort of my way into Batman as a concept. So getting the chance to bring so many different characters together into a team book unlike anything else we've really seen in out of the Batman books, it means a lot to me, because it's the book I've always wanted to write. I've always wanted to write like a Batman family title, a kind of an X-Men starring the Bat family, and honestly, it's a thrill. Every single putting together every single arc, getting to play with all of these pieces is incredible.
Okay, awesome. It's really cool that you bring that point up, because I feel like Batman, and I think many people agree, has one of the most diverse universes in terms of the Bat family, the villains. There's so many moving pieces and so much to work with. And on the subject of Tim Drake, how do you think his character connects some of those points with regards to the Bat family in particular?
Well, the way I've always seen it, and this was this was a theory I came up with before Damien existed as a character, but I've got a way he kind of fits in. But it was just the three Robins to me always represented the three core parts of Bruce, where you have his compassion for other people through Dick Grayson. You have his rage that drives him in Jason, and you have his intellect in Tim. It's Batman's nature to overplan, he's always 10 steps ahead. And exactly. Tim isn't as strong a fighter as the other characters. But he is twice as smart. He is almost as smart as Batman, and he's still a teenager. So it's this is a genius level character who is fighting crime, and the thing I've always liked most about him is he is able to kind of look at the concept of Batman, look at the Batman family in general, and take it from the aerial view, because Batman is very driven, he's very in the moment. Mm-hmm. Tim Drake isn't just thinking 10 steps ahead about how to beat the villain. Mm-hmm. He is thinking 10 steps ahead about how to make Gotham a completely different city, how to fight crime in completely different ways.
It's looking at the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So, obviously you worked with Scott Snyder. You saw what he can do, what he brings to the table. Who are some other writers that you've been influenced by?
Growing up, I was in, I'm a young guy, so it was right when I was in high school, it was sort of the heyday of Brian K. Vaughan, in the Y the Last Man, Ex Machina, when he was still doing some superhero work as well, Runaways and Ultimate X-Men and all of that. It was just he was a real inspiration, because he's had, especially at that point, around 2006, he had 4 books out that had dramatically different feels, but were all very much him. He had the big bombastic superhero book, he had the more personal book in the superhero universe, and then he had 2 creator-owned titles that were wildly different from each other doing that. And it was just that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to have kind of a slate like that, where I'm doing, big superhero stuff, but also weird personal stuff that only I could write. Okay. So that was a real thing. And the other person who had a huge influence on me was Warren Ellis, who just he's an idea factory. Mm-hmm. And it's the writers who build worlds. World building is a really important thing for me, and just seeing how all the pieces connect. That's what I love to do. That's part of why I love. It was important to me in Detective Comics introducing the Belfry, introducing this will always be kind of the Belfry era. And it's just you see, this is how Gotham works in this moment, and it is unique to this moment. And I don't know, I like doing things like that, and I like writers who sort of prioritize that kind of stuff as well.
Okay, well, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like those influences have translated nicely into your interpretation of Batman and his Gotham, his universe, because it's such a big open world. It's so diverse. There's so much going on. And Would you say that's correct? That's where it all comes from?
That's where it all comes from. Like, I want the readers to know, like, okay, you've got the Belfry, you've got the people working in the Belfry, now you have spoiler, and she's running off. She has her own missions in Gotham. You also know that Leslie Tompkins running the Tompkins Free Clinic, that John Paul Valley like volunteers there 3 times a week. You have the people who work at Wayne Enterprises. You know the people who work in the GCPD, and every time that you do a scene in one of those places, you sort of help define that place, and you make Gotham a more real world by doing that and making sure that that you build on it. You're always world building. Like that's what I like to do.
Exactly. Okay, last question. I don't want to keep you too long. To you, what is Detective Comics at its core?
I mean, that's a really big question. I mean, it's the series that spawned Batman. It is this, and beyond that, it's a series that gave DC Comics its name. It's like that's what DC stands for. So it really is. It needs to be a fountain of ideas. It needs to be about trying new things. I think some of the most successful Detective Comics runs in recent memory were the ones that were a little outside the box. It was the Batwoman run by Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams. It was Scott Snyder and Jock's run with Dick Grayson in the Batman suit. And now it's Detective as a team book, and it was just doing something that because Detective very easily, and like some incredible stories have come from this, but Detective can become the other Batman, where the Batman is telling huge, amazing stories, and then Detective is telling smaller, more personal stories, and those are great stories, but it doesn't always stand out. And I wanted to make sure that this run on Detective Comics stood out and tried something very new. And bringing together the Batman family as a team. I'm happy to see that it seems to be doing well and people seem to be enjoying it.
Well, I can tell you sincerely that myself personally and other members at Comic Advisors love what you're doing. Excellent job, and I'm sure our fans across the country, across the world agree. And thank you so much for giving us the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.